What's going on there, guys? We're back with another one, and today we got to talk about Stephen A. Smith and his take on Kawhi Leonard being the worst superstar ever. Now, no, this isn't the old video where he said this in the past. He and JJ got into it. This isn't that video, although we will revisit that. This is something new from today, actually, where he says Kawhi is the worst superstar, and he's not necessarily talking about his game. He's talking about his availability and him not marketing the game, not marketing even himself, just kind of going out there and playing and doing what he wants. Now, some players, that's just who they are. It could come off cringe or um, corny, when you go out there and try to be someone you're not. I think it's a tricky balance. I think a part of Kawhi's brand is his quietness at this point and him not saying anything. I think his availability is the only thing that's stopping that, because if they were still winning at a high level, and he was winning championships, then the rest would kind of take care of itself. Him being quiet, they would need to find a way to market that because it's so different. It stands out. He don't have to market it the same way as everybody else. But you would love to see him step into that some. But Stephen A is also getting some backlash from these takes because he just got in that thing with Jaylen Brown. He just got in that thing with Kyrie Irving recently. So, and he apologized to Kyrie. We're actually going to play that first. And now it's almost like some fans are saying, Stephen A, why do you always need a target? So, he pivots from those two to Kawhi. This is how people's looking at it. I really personally think Stephen A is talking about availability and marketability. But again, are you going to turn down that money if they're offering it to you? So Kawhi, he has no reason to turn that money down. If the Clippers gonna believe he gonna be healthy enough after he showed them repeatedly they just re-signed him for a longer deal, then that's on them. You take what they give you. The business, your market value is where it's at. And if the Clippers deem it worth these 2 more years of max money, that's wild because Kawhi hasn't been there for you for most of your playoff games. So for them to pay him, I mean, what do you expect the man to do other than take the money, to be honest with you? But we're about to get into these videos. Let's check it out.
Kyrie did deserve to be criticized at the time that he was being criticized. Kenny Smith did call me, and he reminded me of guys. He mentioned 6 guys. They weren't disagreeing with what I was saying, but they were addressing the fervor with which I talked about Kyrie. And I really didn't see it that way. I felt like I had looked out for Kyrie Irving on many, many occasions until I couldn't. And then I felt that his attitude towards me had changed and it felt like betrayal. I let that go, but then when his father, I felt, came at me the wrong way, I reacted like I react. I ain't backing up. And it wasn't until Kenny Smith placed that call to me that I had to look at myself differently, because he reminded me of those numerous people that raised Kyrie. They also influenced me. And when I talked about Kyrie in the fashion that I talked about him, it wasn't just a reflection on him, it was a reflection on them.
There's a lot to unpack there. I mean this in the nicest way possible to both of you, but listening to each of you right now, it's very obvious that you've played 0 high-level basketball, and you do not understand the requirements of doing that. And I do mean that in a nice way. What we're talking about here and questioning his injury, and you say, I'm not questioning his injury. You just said we saw Paul George get hurt. We didn't see Kawhi get hurt. Let's give the guy some credit. He did it in game 1. He went out there and battled game 2. Guess what? If he could play, he would play. I want to get clarification on this worst superstar.
I don't mean this towards the both of you. This is not directed at you, Andrea, nor you, Jay. I'm just talking about basketball analysts out there who praise Kawhi Leonard so much. I'm sick of y'all. I'm really sick of y'all. This is the worst superstar. Now, the word superstar is applicable here because he is a superstar when healthy on the basketball court. This is not a conversation about his ability when healthy. He is a 2-time champion, a 2-time NBA Finals MVP. The brother is a big-time basketball player. Jay, this is not a discussion about his skills and how elite he is. This is the worst superstar. I can make a case this is the worst superstar in the history of sports. He is a nightmare. You're talking about the first 4 years of his time with the Clippers, he's averaged 40.3 games a season. 40.3. He played 68 games this past year, and then again, he wasn't available for players. Do you know that Kawhi Leonard hasn't been available for 15 of the last 19 Clippers playoff games? Do you know that the year that they went to the conference finals, which, by the way, was without him because he got hurt before they got to the conference finals, do you know they haven't won a playoff series since? And this man, somehow, some way, first let me confess, I'm kind of jealous. I'm kind of jealous, Jay, because somehow, some way, no matter what his lack of availability is, don't you notice how that's never the issue come negotiating time? Right around the time it's time to negotiate, the brother available. Right around the time it's time for him to get his money, he's on the court. Right around the time it's time for him to get his money. I mean, you see him in the Clipper uniform, all right? But then, the second the man get his money, you got an APB out for him, and you can't find him, okay? And then here's the thing. This is the thing, because that's injury-related, Andrea, and I get that. Put him up on the screen because I want to look at Jay and Andrea. That's injury-related, so I get it. Andrea, where I'm so disgusted with him, he makes no effort to promote the game, to promote his team, to promote the NBA brand.
So, see, you know, I understand what Stephen A. Smith's trying to say. I think my worst definition of a superstar is when you hear things like Big Ben in the bar with those women, and when he was playing with the Steelers, those type of shenanigans. When you hear that type of stuff about players, those are the worst superstars in the history of games. When they are doing things to people that affects their lives, and traumatic. You make somebody suffer a traumatic experience at your hands. Dana White smacking, even though he ain't out there fighting. I mean, you talk about superstar. He's a superstar owner, or person of position in his sport, right? So him smacking his wife in public, that, those are like the worst superstars in the history of sports. We haven't seen Kawhi do none of the sort. So that's where I get a little tripped up on. I think sometimes, we look at the game, we look at what's on the floor, and we think that makes people the worst and the best. But as a character, just fundamental character, some people can do things that are more egregious than not playing or being injured all the time or not marketing a game that they don't own. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would say to that. That I think that's one of the reasons that people look at Stephen A. the way that they do. As far as his responses, the way he came at Kyrie, and then the way he kind of switched it for Aaron Rodgers, and it was the same sort of thing. Although it wasn't, because Aaron Rodgers lied about being, vaccinated, whereas Kyrie told you straight up he ain't doing it. And so for him to get the backlash he got, and Aaron Rodgers to get what he got is ridiculous. Again, so. We look at that. We look at the Jaylen Brown thing. He's not marketable all of a sudden. And you think about what Jaylen Brown did. He went to the Big Three and played in their All-Star weekend when it wasn't cool to do it. And basically showed no, the NBA players could do it if they want to. They just don't. And that was so eye-opening of an experience that Jaylen Brown did that, because I just assumed prior to that the NBA had a very strict clause in their contract where they couldn't play. But in my mind, I was like, man, they playing in the Drew League, they playing in the J. Crawl League. And I'm like, some of these leagues is popping up that you see the guys playing in, and they didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm like, it can't really be in the writing that you can't play, in the Big Three, right? Because they aren't taking compensation. I would imagine that they can't play in a league which they're compensated for. So Jaylen Brown just kind of showed up off the strength, and what you would pay him kind of went to charity, or, was dispersed amongst your other stars in your league. So that was so eye-opening. So when Stephen A. was saying he wasn't as marketable, that just didn't rub people the right way, because he supported Ice Cube at a time when other people wouldn't, or other people wouldn't speak up. I remember seeing more people supporting and talking about the big three early on, and then it kind of just went away. Um, Obviously, people like LeBron James want to own an NBA team, so business wise, they're gonna be quiet. But again, I salute Jaylen Brown for doing that because he showed nope, we could be over here. We could at least show our face in these arenas, and we ain't doing it. Um, so Kawhi is now Stephen A's target that he's going back to. It's not a target he hasn't had before, but me personally, I mean, if I was the owner of the Clippers, I probably wouldn't have signed Kawhi back because he showed me he's injured so much. If we just talking about the basketball, but I wouldn't say he's the worst superstar in the game. He earned the right to get paid that when he got paid the first time. I just wouldn't have given him this new contract, with the Clippers, that is. And he was very close. That last year in San Antonio, he was very close to really challenging LeBron for the best player because he had passed KD in my opinion at that point, because they were about to destroy the Golden State Warriors in that first game. Kawhi was going crazy. He was stopping KD and scoring on him every time, and then he got injured, and so they ended up losing the series, but they were about to get destroyed in game one in Golden State. So looking at that, I'm like, man. Kawhi just another guy whose career was derailed. I know Penny, Grant Hill, and some of those players wish that their careers could have been low managed and prolonged in this sort of way, when they were coming along. So, not just to answer Stephen A. Smith and respond, with my opinion, I don't think Kawhi's the worst superstar, but I think it's people like Big Ben who was groping the women and allegedly. And Dana White was smacking his wife. I think those are the worst stars in sports. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, peace.
Skip tweeted something, and although I disagree with the tweet, and hopefully Skip would take it down.
I'm not going to take it down.
Skip, 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 skip. Skip, skip, skip.